So it's been about 12 weeks since I walked away from my corporate career. And I am now more positive than ever. I know in my heart that it was the right thing to do. I was ready for this change. I prepared for this change, and I'm excited about this change. But even with that, I'll say the last 12 weeks, I've learned a few things. So I've learned some things about myself, and I've learned some things about what life is like after a corporate job. So today I want to talk about the 5 positive lessons I've learned over these first few weeks and what they've taught me and how I plan to keep growing and move forward. So before we start today's discussion, I'd like to say a big thanks to everyone who watched, liked, or commented on my first video. It meant so much to me that my story resonated with so many of you. I'm really excited about this journey, so if you subscribed, welcome to this amazing community, and I hope we can continue to grow. If you're joining for the first time, please consider hitting the like button or subscribing so that you can be a part of this too. I'd love for us all to go on this journey together. So here are 5 things that I've learned since I moved on from my corporate career. I don't know if these are lessons in the traditional sense. They're sort of things that I didn't necessarily expect. And though I'm taking them as things that I need to work on, so I'm going to share those. So here we go. So lesson number 1, without the structures of a corporate career, it is way too easy to waste time. So I don't mean I'm sitting around doing nothing. I'm certainly not sleeping in or lounging around on the couch. That's not what I mean by wasting my time. It's more that, so when I was in my corporate job, I had a really definitive schedule to my day. So I would start at 8 a.m., I would work to a certain point, take a break, work to the end of the day. And it was driven by a schedule of meetings. There were updates I had to give. There were discussions that I had to be in. There were objectives for the week. There were objectives over the course of the projects I was working on. And those don't exist anymore. So this is now me working on things that I want to work on. And I'm finding that I can be prone to maybe jumping from one thing to another is one of the challenges I'm having. Diving way too deep into some things that aren't necessarily producing the result I'm looking for. An example of that is when I started looking at how to create this YouTube channel. I probably could have watched a few videos or read something about how to do this and get started. I don't know that I needed to watch 15 or 20 videos and do all these things that I did to get ready. So a lot of the advice was to just jump in. I'm happy I prepped, but it probably wasted a lot of time too. The jumping around thing is something that I think, again, because I had so many things on my list, and then distractions pop up because I'm no longer in a corporate environment. I'll be working on something and then there's an interrupt. It's like something happens just around the house or with something I need to pay attention to or something that pops into my head. And I'm probably now a little bit more prone to moving off the thing that I'm working on that I want to accomplish. And that's a waste. So I'm going to go back. I was actually really good at managing my time when I was in my corporate job. I was one of those people that could definitely be counted on to get things done. I had my, not just my to-do lists, but the way I would prioritize. I would look at things in quadrants about what was important and what was immediately necessary and what was more strategic. So I was good at that, and it's time to reapply some of that. So what changed again when I was in a corporate environment? I had the teams around me, management, the executive leadership, the corporate structure. And so operating with good time management in that environment, I found much easier. So now I kind of thought, oh, well, I have all this time. Do I really need to do all of that? Do I need to make to-do lists? Do I need to set objectives for the week or have goals? And, the answer is yes, I definitely do. I'm one of those people. I know there's maybe some folks out there who can kind of just do all these things and manage their time without thinking about it. Maybe you're out there, but that's not me. So I am going back. I'm going to take the things I knew when I was in my corporate job. I'm not doing it for the corporation, so I don't want that structure. But for myself, I'm going to be managing my time a little more wisely. So the second lesson I've learned, and it's kind of related to the first, is that I need to manage my expectations. So what I mean by that, so I talked about in my first video, with 39 years in a corporate career and having to put a number of things on the side, I'll just describe it this way. I have a list of pent up demand of so many things that I've been thinking about: starting this channel, work I want to do on the house, other avenues I'm exploring, some things I want to learn, some hobbies and activities I want to get back to. So that list is big, and I think it's growing. And so I took a pause after a little while, and especially as I was getting ready to make this video, I was thinking about some things and reflecting. And the reality is, I just can't let that list keep growing and growing. That's not how you function in a corporate environment. It's certainly not how I can function in this new phase of my life. It's something I got to get under control. So with that, that means I've got to like set some clear priorities. I don't think I want to give up things, but I need to create more of a vision for where I'm going. So right now, rather than just having a list of things I want to do, I'm going to apply things that, again, I know from the business world and that I know about self mastery and self management. Creating a vision, having a mission, without the corporate side of it, but for my personal self and for my things I want to do. Having a set of goals and objectives that support that vision and where I'm trying to get to, and having again a way of working, just checkpoints and thinking about, are those priorities right? Am I getting to where I want to be? And I have to recognize that there's a chunk of things that I'm still not going to get to. That's okay. I think, I'm learning now, and again, part of this was that sense of urgency. So when I left the corporate job, and I'm curious if other people experience this, it really is. There's this sort of sense of like, okay, I got to get going. I want to start working on all these things. And the reality is, while I don't have forever, I really do have more time than I have before. And this isn't all going to happen at once. So it's a journey, and I want to go on that journey. But it can't wander all over. It's not an odyssey where it goes every which way. This is I've got a few paths I can go on. I've got things I want to accomplish, and I've got to put some focus around that. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually excited to do that because I think it's going to help me continue to improve and get better at what I'm trying to do. So the third thing I learned is that I actually miss my job a little bit, and not just my job, but it's interesting. So I think while I was getting ready to leave, there's an excitement, and I would talk to people, and everybody talks about, oh, it's gonna be great, and it is. It's great. I love not being in the corporate world. I love having the freedom to do these things that I want to work on. But there's parts of it I miss, and I maybe expected it a little. So a few years ago, when I was working with a group, one of our colleagues retired, and when he left, he was away for a few months, and then he had reached out, or someone reached out to him, and a few of us wound up having lunch together, and it was great, and we were talking about how it was to be retired. And at some point, somebody asked him, "So, do you miss it?" And he was real quick to say, "No." And I think, I get it, right? He was like, "No, I don't miss it." But then he pretty quickly, and I always remember what he said. He said, "I do miss some of the work, and I do miss most of the people, but not all of them." And the funny part is, I think that's where I'm at. So I do miss some of the work. I mentioned in my first video. So in my job, I was working on projects, I was working with teams. So I was actually something that's called a change manager towards the end of my career. So what that means is if there was something happening, either new systems being implemented or there was change in an organization, the executive team would rely on change managers to help make sure that the people and the teams were ready for that change. So that meant communicating, it meant helping to put together training plans, it meant preparing readiness and transition plans, and it also meant doing follow ups and making sure that the change that was implemented could be sustained, and also getting feedback and engaging with other people. So, to be honest, that was interesting work. I talked about how my motivations changed, and I think that was largely because I wasn't getting to determine what the changes were. So I acknowledge that that was a part of it. But in terms of like working with teams and working with people, yeah, I do miss that. And then most of the people. So I have to say that I really did enjoy engaging with my colleagues and other people I worked with. I miss some of them. I've reached out to a few. I'm going to be having some conversations, so I think that's a good thing to do. But when you're in a work environment, there's a lot going on, and even when you're in a meeting or getting ready, let's face it, you sometimes have side conversations. I think there's a few times where you just chit chat about what people did with their weekend, how their day was. And there were some very nice people that I worked with. And I will say I miss most of them. Okay, so the fourth lesson I learned is that it can actually be a bit difficult to be alone all day. So this is somewhat connected to missing some of the people, but it's more than that. So what I'm talking about is, again, in a corporate environment, when you're in a job and you're in meetings and you have deadlines and you're part of a team that's a project team and you're delivering, there's an energy around that. There's a buzz, right? There's connections happening. There's work that's keeping you busy. And it revolves around being around other people. Even when I was working remote, there was connections all day long. And so even though I was physically alone, I still felt like I was connected and that I was part of things. So when I left my corporate job, I'm definitely learning that being alone, like where I don't have other people to talk with about the things I'm working on, or that I'm not working in a team environment, it's a little more challenging than I expected. It's not terrible. I think it's just being part of who I am. I really do enjoy the energy of being around other people. So, what I'm going to have to do about that, what I am doing about that. So, I've seen a few videos where people talk about how they like to be alone. I don't know that I'll ever like that, but definitely learning to be more on my own in my own thoughts, not having to talk and connect with other people to keep things going and to enjoy my life. I don't think I'm going to be alone all the time. I mean, I certainly still have my family and friends and the social connections. I'm going to continue to work on keeping those active. I mentioned reaching out and staying connected with other people. But the day in, day out, a lot of what I'm doing now is really just I'm here, I'm working on these videos. I'm certainly enjoying the concept of being connected with other people out there. I'm enjoying creating these videos and looking at the engagement and seeing how things are going and hearing from you all in comments. But it's not the same. I'm just going to be clear. It is not the same as having a team and people around. So, like I said, I'm going to work on that. I think some meditation practices to be comfortable with myself and my thoughts, as opposed to just always having to rely on the energy of others. I think there's definitely some things that I can work on around just quiet solitude and learning to like just relax a bit and decompress and not feel like I have to always be, going and going. So being alone, it's something I'm working on. I'm excited about it. I'm going to be doing some more things for exercise and fitness that'll occupy my day. There's a lot of things I can do. I just have to find them and keep working through them. So that was another lesson. So the last thing I learned, and I'm really excited about this. So I don't know that I fully expected that I would find that people would relate or understand what I was doing. So when I was getting ready to leave my corporate job, I would tell people, okay, I'm going to be done. I'm leaving. I'm moving on. And the reactions were always like, they knew my age and they, oh, are you retiring? You're retiring early. And it's like, no, no, I'm not retiring. I've got some other things I'm going to be working on. And it was, oh, is it another career? No, no, not another career, not starting anything. No, I'm not doing these different things. So I think, if people, when you're in that environment, they kind of look at it that way. Well, you're either retiring or you're going to go do something else. Like, what is this discovery thing? What is this? What is this journey? I think I kind of expected that that was going to continue, but then, I did get out. And I'm finding both through this channel and through some other things I'm experiencing that there's really more people on this path, especially people my age, than I realized. And that's interesting and exciting. I didn't fully expect it. So a little story. So again, I'm home and I have time that I can do things. And so one of the things I've been trying to do is take regular walks. And I was out on the walking path not too long ago, and I bumped into someone that I knew around town. And it was the middle of the day, and it was a work day, so I wasn't working, they weren't working. So I just asked them, "Oh, are you taking the day off?" And they told me, "No, I left my job." And when we started to talk, I started to realize, and we started to realize that we were both sort of thinking about this similarly, and we're on the same path. So they're going a different way, but it was just interesting. It was interesting to me to find that there was somebody that just popped into my life as I was walking around, that I knew from town, but that was doing something very similar. And then, I started to talk to other people and they're like, oh, that makes so much sense. And so they actually understood. And I was glad for that. Again, not that I needed to explain myself or be totally validated by acceptance, but it was encouraging to know that it wasn't like completely out of the realm of what people would be able to rationalize or understand. And then the other thing that's happened, and I really appreciate this, and it's amazing, is when I created my first video and I started doing this, just seeing that so many people were interested in watching it, that I had people subscribing. There were a few really nice comments about people who had started a journey like this a while back, or who were just getting started, who were wishing me well. And that just reaffirmed for me that there's a lot of people who are thinking about this way. I don't know if they're all like me in our early 60s, but they're definitely out there. And so, again, I would say to anyone who is thinking about this, talk to other people, consider being part of a community, whether it's this channel or other channels. Share your experiences and see what's going on. I think you'll find it very motivating. I know I sure do, and it's been very encouraging, and it's a very positive lesson learned. So on that one, I just plan on keep connecting and keep exploring and keep talking about this and seeing who's out there and seeing what's going on. That's exciting for me, and I think that's going to be a great part of this channel. So those are the 5 lessons that I've learned over these last 12 weeks. There's still a long way to go. This is just getting started. So if any of those resonated with you, or if you've had similar experiences or completely different experiences, I'd love to hear from you. So please leave a comment and consider subscribing. I'm hoping we can build this community together. So thanks for spending time with me. Let's all keep moving forward, and I'll see you next time.